Welcome today with Enlighten with Truth, and I'm your host, Sonia. And today I have a guest, Jessica White, all the way in. Where are you at, Jessica? Tell the world.
Yeah, I'm in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
So it's a 16-hour time difference. So thank you. It's actually Monday for you, and it's Sunday for me, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about conscious communication. And this is a strong suit for Jessica, who works with conscious communication as parents and with her clients. And she is going to also focus on today with how that works in relationships, whether you're a parent or partnership or in general. So I'm going to take some time here for Jessica to introduce herself and to tell us a little bit about you and how did you get into conscious communication? What steered you there?
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you for inviting me to join you in this conversation, and hello to everybody who's watching us. Thank you for joining us. So yes, I'm Jess and I'm living in New Zealand, and I'm a partner to the father of my two children. I have two young girls. They are 7 and almost 5 now. And we live what I call a rather simple life. We live on some land, we unschool, and we just really enjoy going with the flow and seeing where our interests and passions take us, which I love because it's very in line with what conscious communication is all about. It's about going with the flow of life. So how did this come into my world? So when before my second daughter was born, my oldest daughter was around 2. Until that time, I had found mothering relatively easy. It just flowed from me. I did the whole attachment style parenting thing. We were always together. We would co-sleep. I was breastfeeding. Everything just felt natural, like I had done this before. And I was so grateful and just so excited. And then I remember it was just before my daughter turned 2. And we were actually traveling. We'd gone to visit some family over in the UK. And my daughter, she started having these really, really strong emotions that turned into something that really scared me. So I guess, like, from my point of view, I would call it a tantrum, but it became out of control. And she was like rolling around on the floor. She was kicking the floor and she was screaming. And I felt powerless in that moment. And that feeling of powerlessness really scared me. I realized I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to support her. I didn't know what would be the most supportive for her emotionally going forward. And I realized I needed some guidance. Like, I was unable, just like before, it was relatively easy to tap into my own intuition. I was struggling. And then those kind of instances would happen again and again. And I realized more and more I needed something. Like, I needed support, not in the way of wanting someone else to come in and be with my daughter at those times. I wanted to support in the way of knowledge, like something that would empower me to be able to be there as support for my daughter. So that was when I first realized, okay, I need to start looking outside of what I've already got. I need to start looking, just keeping my eyes open and my heart open to what could come. And then it was maybe like a whole, I was pregnant with our second, and then it just became harder. I noticed being pregnant with my second, I didn't have those same energy resources to be really present to the pregnancy and to my daughter. And so I became even more kind of disconnected from my integrity and being the mum that I wanted to be. I started noticing that I was feeling frustrated with my daughter. I would express anger towards her. And then I would just feel more and more disappointed in myself. Anyway, a miracle or a divine play, whatever you want to call it, came at that point. I won't go too far into the story. This is kind of a whole nother story. But there was a time where a young mum, she had a newborn baby. She came into my life and she needed some support. She was moved into our home and I couldn't give her the support that she needed. And so we put a call out to the universe, onto the local Facebook community, to ask for help, for someone to come and give this young mum and her newborn baby some support. Anyway, next thing I know, in through our door walked a 16-year-old young woman. And I swear she had this golden orb, this golden glow about her. And as soon as she came into our home space, there was calm. It was just this deep sense of calm. So I got the privilege of watching her over the next few weeks support this young mum and her baby in this way that I was just so deeply impressed. She displayed such like a huge array of ways to be with her that I saw as compassionate, understanding, loving. She demonstrated a really strong sense of self-connection that, when I compared to myself as being a 16-year-old teenager, was so far from my own experience. Like, when I look back, I don't even think I really knew what I was feeling most of that time through my teenage years, let alone knew what to do with those emotions. So watching this 16-year-old woman, I realized I needed to know who her parents were. Who were her parents and what were they like for this woman to blossom into this such a self-connected, assured, loving, gentle being. And I discovered that her mother was a trainer in nonviolent communication. So that was my first introduction. It was the first time I ever heard of NVC, which is short for nonviolent communication. And so that was my entry into the world. I began to do courses and workshops and read books. And I realized right away that this was the thing that I had been looking for. This was the modality, this was the wisdom that was going to support me to be able to be that mum that I wanted to be. And I also, at the same time, had this voice telling me that I was going to be a teacher of this work as well. And that really scared me, because at the time, speaking in groups or even speaking to people I didn't know filled me with terror. I was very shy and quite introverted. And so, yeah, fast forward now, nearly 5 years ahead, I am sharing this work with other people. It's become my life practice. Mm-hmm. I call it conscious communication. It's based on nonviolent communication, but it's also some of my own additions, some practices that come into conscious communication that have evolved from my own experience with the work. And so now I have the joy and privilege of sharing it with other people, with in-person and online group trainings. And also I do one-to-one coaching, which I really enjoy, because we can get right into the nitty-gritty and work with really what's alive for people.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that information and telling us a little bit of that backstory, because I feel it's important for anyone watching to understand the person's background and their purpose of putting this information and this type of importance in communication, which is what we all do on a daily basis. Now we may take it for granted, our communication style, but I feel like this, for example, can lead us closer to maybe our own love language. And right now I'm all about this, self-love and self-care, and being in a closer connection to ourselves. And so I know you've told me that this, conscious communication has these pillars. Can you tell us about these pillars and what they mean to you and how you use them?
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly that. This work is steeped in self-connection and self-love, self-awareness. And so if you can imagine a tree, just imagine a simple image of a tree. So you've got the trunks and the roots coming down, and then you've got two branches. This is a really beautiful image that has been gifted by a trainer in Kashtan. She designed this tree to visually demonstrate the 3 pillars of NVC. So in the trunk, that's the center of the tree. So that's where the heart is, right? So this is the trunk, it's holding it all together. And then if we come down into the roots, this is our self-connection. Because in my experience, there's really no support in relationships if we only learn the communication tools without the underground, without the self-connection, because then it really just becomes words and people aren't hearing our truth. They're not coming from a really heart-centered place. So the self-connection of this work is the absolute foundation. So self-connection itself comes in 2 parts. It's about holding space for me and holding space for you, for the other. And holding space is about holding the life that is within. And 2 integral components of that life that we work with in NVC are our feelings, so our emotions, and our needs, our universal human needs. We can also relate to our needs as our desires or our values, as our deepest wishes, those things that are just the most important to us. And in nonviolent communication, it's recognized that every feeling we have lets us know if one of these needs is being met or not in any given moment. So when we connect to our feelings, first of all, they act as messengers for our needs. So in this way, when we're aware of what our needs are, whether they are met or not, we are focusing our attention on to what we do want in life. We're focusing our attention on what is most important to us. And then we choose life from that space, rather than really focusing on the things that we don't enjoy, the stuff that we don't like, the things that are causing us pain. Yes, we absolutely hold space for that, but we then transform all of that into feelings and then needs. So self-connection is, what am I feeling and what am I needing in this moment? And then it also, I wonder what the other person is feeling in this moment. I wonder what they may be needing in this moment. And then in that way, we are fully connected, we are self-connected, our roots are strong, our heart is open because we are connected to our own values, and we are also curious and open-hearted now toward the other person and wondering what might be going on for them. So that's our roots. And I love it because at any time when we get, overwhelmed or anything that's going on in life, we can remember our roots. What am I feeling? What am I needing? Start there. And then I wonder what they're feeling. I wonder what they're needing. So that's our roots. And just like any tree that's going to flourish, the roots need to have that access to that nourishment so they can have a really strong body and a strong system. So that's the first pillar, self-connection.
Thank you. I like that because it makes me feel like it's not a selfish type of thing because we're coming from the heart. So there's nothing where that is self-centeredness or selfishness, or it feels like it's a true connection because we're also thinking about the other person from their heart source of what they need. So that's beautiful.
Totally. It really does cultivate this beautiful, heartfelt sense of connection and understanding. It helps us to begin to understand the other person even before we've began speaking.
Wow. It also sounds too, I'm kind of picking up that it helps us to stay within our truth, like I see you and you see me. And I see you in your truth and I see me in my truth, meaning the truth is who we really are. It's how we really are in this world without all these masks on, all these layers. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think the next pillar is what I'm really intrigued about, the empathy, because that's a yearning for to see more empathy in today's world. So tell us about that empathy.
Yeah. So empathy is one of the two branches. So we'll move to one branch, so the empathy branch, right? So empathy to me is about being with another in a way where they feel seen, in a way where they have the sense that they matter to us. And when I learned this work, the term was used, we give another empathy. However, I don't resonate with that term so much anymore. When I'm with someone in empathy, I don't feel like I'm giving them something in a way that I no longer have something. When I'm with someone in empathy, it just fills us both up, because empathy is all about working with the life that is within another. And because we are all so deeply connected, as we know, we fill up too. Like my heart just swells when I'm with another person in this way, in empathy. So empathy in NVC, there's 3 ways of being with people in empathy. And the first way is to purely listen, like just basically doing nothing but being there, holding space for the other person to share. So listening with our pure presence, that's a form of empathy. And sometimes that's all another person needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we live in a culture where, we're driven to fix it. We got to fix it. We got to do something. And so sometimes when someone is sharing their pain with us or a challenge, we want to jump in and we want to help them, and we want to take away their pain, and we want to offer solutions for how they can have their pain removed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might not be what they need in that moment. Just by giving them that space to fully share can be so powerful. So listening is one way that we can be with empathy and other. And I notice this so much with my children. The more I relax into that, I'm just going to listen. They can come and they can be so upset. And when they know that they've got my full attention and I am fully listening, that's it. It's like they have this release. You can then see their body just like, let it go. And they come back to their center and off they go and start running and playing. And I haven't even said a word, maybe a few like nods or, but they just sense it. They can sense that we are with them. So I love that. And then the second way we can be with someone in empathy is non-verbally. So again, we're not speaking at this point. So that is again about guessing their feelings and needs. So it's similar to the self-connection part where we're beginning to open our heart towards the other person. So that the intention for that is to open our heart and to connect. So in empathy, when we are with them in non-verbal empathy, we are fully with them now, and we are wondering as they are speaking or they are doing something, we're wondering, wow, I wonder if they're feeling really annoyed right now. Mm-hmm. We are so fully with them. Our energy is with them. And then we're beginning to wonder about their needs. Wow, I wonder if they would really love some cooperation right now. Or I wonder if they really want to be understood right now. So we're really just like being with them in this energy where we're tapping into the life that's within them through the language of feelings and needs. Mm. And again, they sense that. It's like this energy shift. They sense it when we are fully with them in that way.
Beautiful. So it sounds like being fully present and, having full attention and acknowledgement that, your needs, your desires, your wishes right now is important. And I hear you.
Yes.
Love it. I love it. Love
yeah.
it.
Exactly. And then the third way that we can be with someone else in empathy is verbally. So this is when we're listening to them, and then we can guess verbally their feelings and or their needs. So that might sound something like, wow, I'm guessing you're feeling really frustrated right now. And then just letting them speak, letting them have that space again. And then we can support them in such a beautiful way by guessing their needs. Like, is this about you wanting a sense of community? Or is this you wanting more spontaneity? or whatever you guess their need may be. There's a whole list. So there's lists, it's probably showing to you backwards, but there's lists of needs that we can work with to invite this language and this awareness more into our lives. So then again, it's just about every time we guess a need, we're giving them this beautiful opportunity to look inside themselves and to tap into their own innate, beautiful individual wisdom that lives in there. So every time we guess a need, it's like an offering for them to connect even more into their own experience.
Nice. And this all is connected to being consciously aware to have this type of communication and connection with ourselves and with others. Beautiful. Now, this list is it something that you can provide, or is this list something that is more, that you work with clients? How do you use the list per se?
Yeah, so the list is available to anybody. I haven't yet created an easy system for that to be available. So at the moment, as people come to me and we get into dialogue, I ask them if they want to share their email address with me, and then I email them this list. I would love to make it more accessible, like putting it onto my link tree or something, because this is the list that's the heart of the practice. Okay. So, for example, there's I'll give you the subheadings. There's like our physical needs, which are things like touch and water and sunshine. And then there's needs that come under freedom. So that's like autonomy, self-expression, time, play, lightness. And then there's the needs around security. So that could be like emotional security, financial freedom, order and structure. And then there's meaning, the needs that, meaning, longings to matter, integrity. Perhaps we have a need for growth, learning, purpose. And then connection needs like closeness, acceptance, belonging, to be known and understood. And then there's the needs for interdependence, like these needs of coming together. So community, cooperation, partnership. And then needs that give us more of a sense of transcendence. So that's like celebration of life, beauty, reverence for life, harmony. So those are just little tastes of what's on the list. And this list is in no way definitive either. It's like a sample, like a collection of these universal human needs. And I just want to briefly touch on as well, these universal human needs, to me, they're like magic. When we invite these awareness of these needs, like we all know all these things, right? We all know them, and perhaps there's some way already weaved into our lives. When we begin to work with them in this way as a means to create connection and understanding between self and other, there's like this magic. I just call it magic because it just fills me up with this divine sense of life. And Marshall Rosenberg was the creator of nonviolent communication. And when he first recognized these universal human needs that live behind all of our feelings and all of our behaviors and everything we do, he recognized that they carried this essence and expression of life. And he wanted to call them beloved divine energy. At the time, he wanted this work to appeal to the masses. He wanted it to appeal all over the globe. And so he called them universal human needs. But he recognized this quality, this divine quality that these needs carry. And when we connect into them, it's like we're connecting into this beautiful life-serving energy that just fills you up, whether it's a need that you recognize of your own or of somebody else's. So that's, I think, one reason why when we're with someone in empathy, we are filled up as well.
Okay, yeah. And just the list and those words carry a vibration, to start to a place to start and work, whether someone may be so caught up maybe in their moment and it's very chaotic, or they're in a crisis, those words alone can trigger in a positive way where we can start to, work through this. It kind of feels, therapeutic, but I don't want to call it a therapy. That may not be legal, but it does feel where it can be therapy for the soul, therapy for relationships, which is, I know what you're going to talk about um, briefly and give us an example. But I know there's one more pillar. And if you could tell us about that last pillar and what does that look like?
Mm. Yes, so the other branch of the tree is self-expression. And self-expression is all about sharing with the world, with other, through our voice, that which is important to us. So this could simply be us sharing our feelings and our needs. Like, this is what's important to me in this moment. I'm really longing for touch in this moment. Or I would really enjoy some solitude in this moment. I really want to be understood. Whatever your need is, it's about expressing that. And then it becomes a really empowered I statement as well. It's not about you're not giving me this, you're not doing this, you're acting in this way. It's about my experience. And I'm having this trigger or these strong emotions because my need for, let's just say, for recognition is not being met. Perhaps it's a need for reassurance or trust. Whatever it is, we express from that place.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one more tool. Well, there's a few more tools, but in conscious communication, we then can follow it up with a request. So it's asking myself, it's asking another person, or it's asking the universe, how can I get this need met? Mm-hmm. What's some way that I can meet this need?
Yes.
Yeah.
And with so how have you seen that, for example, work in partnership? Because I could see where this aligns very closely with a partnership or a friendship or, relationships in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just a really recent example was the other day where my partner and I, we were disagreeing on something to do with our children. And we were just at a headlock, there was, so I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. We farm, and so we raise our own meat. And it's the first time that we've done this. We were about to have one of our cows given, we're going to take the life of our cow, and there was going to be someone to do it and then have it packed into meat. And so this has been a really big, I guess, like an exploration for me, like, how do I feel about this? Because I'm a meat eater, but I want to value my meat and I want to know that it's had a beautiful, happy life. And so this was really new for me. It wasn't so new to my partner. And also with the children, our clash was that I wanted to give our girls the opportunity to choose whether they were going to be there present on the land when this was taking place. And my partner was saying no, he didn't want them to have the choice. He wanted to make the choice for them. He didn't want them present because he wanted to protect them. So now we're starting to get into the level of needs, right? So we've got these strategies. I wanted to give them the choice. He didn't want to give them the choice. And when you're there, that we call those strategies to meet needs. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to find resolution if your strategies are different. So then if you bring it to the layer of needs, suddenly it creates a whole lot more like scope or like access for movement, for finding new ways. And I said to him, I said, can we bring this to the layer of needs? And I'm fortunate because he's recently jumped on board with me and really sees the value in NVC. It is trickier if your partner isn't practicing, but it's not impossible. So that would be me just jumping in and say, hey, are you not wanting the girls to witness this? Is that because you want to protect? Is that because you have such a need to care for them? And then by that way, we begin to access a deeper level. And then he also shared with me, he said, I also have a need to understand. I still don't I'm still not 100% sure what the best way to go about this is. I have a need to understand what could be the most supportive for our girls. And I swear, when he said that, I fell a little bit more in love with him. I was like, wow, that's just so beautiful. He's sharing with me that he hasn't got the answers and he wants to understand more. And then I got to share with him my needs. Wow, I want to respect the girls and their like autonomy, and how they're their own human, and to respect their choice. I also want to care for them, and I also want to protect them from harm. So we got onto this layer of needs, and then we were able to come to a new strategy, a new way that we were both happy with, that we're going to meet all of our needs. And it can be very exciting when you realize, wow, we've actually got the same needs under here. We both have these needs to care for our girls. And then that initial, when we're in strategy, creating a lot of disconnection, we were then able to come back together and understand each other.
And underlying, it sounds like the same needs. It just shows up different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, aren't we saying the same thing here, just in a different way? Which, that's how the complexity of human nature works. So, and it's another purpose of why I'm sharing this type of information on Enlighten with Truth, is to help give people different tools and techniques that can help us grow, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, but grow in a healthy type of relationship with this world, with others, with ourself. I feel like this is where we're at, especially coming out of the last couple of years, where a lot of us may be feeling disconnected, and we need to come back to ourselves, just ourselves first, so we could start to, like you said, heart to heart, start to self-connect, and then connect with others and have that empathy. And then we're in ourselves to where then we could start now to self-express how we're feeling and what those needs are. Love it. Love it. Anything else that you want to share as we bring this to a conclusion?
Yeah, I guess I just want to, if anyone does go into this further, go to explore conscious communication, just to recognize that it's a journey. We can learn all of these concepts in our mind and be really inspired by them. And yet we have so much that we're carrying from our past that's living within us. So it's about, I see it as interaction, one interaction at a time. If we can be fully in our truth and hold that beautiful space for the other, and interact with them in a way that's in line with our integrity, then celebrate that, even if the next 10 interactions are not in line with our values. So one interaction at a time, and just embrace the journey.
Baby steps, right?
Yeah.
Expect to get to the tip of the mountain without hiking up, taking a breath, hiking up, taking a breath. I totally get it. And I appreciate that information and you sharing your knowledge and your experience with this. Again, thank you for this time and, giving us this information and a nice, sweet package here to where, if this resonates with the person listening, that they can have this awareness. Because I feel sometimes it's like, hey, I wasn't even aware of that. I wasn't even aware that this is possible and that I can be more consciously aware of how I'm communicating. And I keep thinking about communication as a love language. So I don't know who that's for, but it's like, this is my love language. This is a love language. So thank you for all of this. And I would like to say thank you for listening to Enlighten with Truth. And if you like this content and this information, please like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you in the next video. So stay hydrated and stay in peace and take care of yourself.
Mm.
Blessings.